If you've been around the Nintendo parts the past few years, chances are you've seen a post like this on social media. This was an actual control setup for a Nintendo game. And I still see posts like this pop up from time to time, even today. Anytime I do, I see a lot of people legit shocked by its existence and wonder why it even exists. It's kind of gotten to the point where more people are familiar with the image itself rather than where it came from. And I just thought that was fascinating enough to cover it in a video. If it wasn't already obvious enough from the title and the footage going on, it originated from Splatoon. Splatoon 1 to be exact. I'm sure a lot of people already know about this and what I'm about to talk about. And if you do know what I'm talking about, congratulations, you are legally able to apply for a veterans account. And if you don't know what I'm about to talk about and only are familiar with this image through memes and such, chances are you started with Splatoon 2 and are currently playing through Splatoon 3, as well as also having a 10-page essay typed up in your Twitter drafts, ready to be dropped at a moment's notice about how Shiver committed war crimes because she won a Splatfest. You know who you are. Jokes aside, I really wanted to give this mode its due diligence, as I haven't really seen any video talk about it, outside of just the, oh yeah, we're playing it. Not only that, but there's some interesting facts along the way that I thought was cool enough to cover in this video. With all that out of the way, I welcome you all to Splatoon's Strangest PvP mode. It just occurred to me that this technically counts as my I played Splatoon 1 in 2024 video, so there's that, I guess. Alright, let's get into it. Before we go into the origins of this malarkey, which is funnily enough is actually referenced in the Sunken Scrolls, we first gotta talk about the mode this image is associated with. Located in Inkopolis Plaza in Splatoon 1, there's this building called the Battle Dojo. See, back in my day, we didn't have no shoal. Although, ironically enough, the Battle Dojo would eventually become the shoal in Splatoon 3's Inkopolis Plaza. Heck, you can even see sticker residue left over from where the one-on-one sign was in the first game. A remnant of a bygone era. Also, when you look inside, you can see a Wii U gamepad as well as Pro controllers hanging up on both the left and right side. Meanwhile, if you zoom in this place in Splatoon 3, you can actually see a cute reference to Splatoon 1, as you can see an arcade machine of Squid Jump. You can tell it's Squid Jump because the ice blocks are directly identical. Alright, entering this place, you'll first press ZR on ZL on the gamepad, and then be given the choice Classic Controller, Wii U, Pro Controller. Yeah, despite all this and this, you can actually play this mode with the Classic Controller. Come on, Nintendo, don't forget about the Classic Controller. What do you have against the Classic Controller, Nintendo? Why didn't you make images of those? Fine, I did it myself. There. Once you've gotten your controls all set up, you will be plunged into a weapon select screen. Unlike the usual select screen, you don't get to choose your gear loadout. You only get to choose a weapon. And those who are quite observant may have noticed that you don't get a special, only a sub. Put a pin in that, because I'll get back to you on that. Once you've selected your weapons, you get to choose from 5 different stages. Yep, just the 5 that were in the base game. No other ones that were added, because Nintendo did not update the stage list. Heck, the Urchin Underpass in this mode is Day 1 Urchin, not the updated Urchin they would add later on. Now, if I was to ask you what this mode is called, a lot of you would probably just say Battle Dojo. And while I can understand why you would say that, it's technically wrong. To me, it's kind of like when people call Sora a Square Enix character. I can see where most people get both of these confused, but they're both wrong. And in the people who call this mode Battle Dojo's defense, Nintendo themselves have called it Battle Dojo.
Another mode included in the game is called the Battle Dojo. Here you can enjoy local one-on-one battles with friends. In this mode, one player uses the gamepad as a screen while the other plays on the TV screen, each one competing to see who can pop the highest number of balloons in a given stage. You can play this mode on the same stages as in Turf Wars, so just like in a real dojo, you can practice your moves and learn the layout and locations of obstacles to up your game in Turf Wars.
Bill, no, that's not called Battle Dojo! That's just the place where it takes place in. The mode itself, it's called Balloon Battle. Like the Mario Kart mode. And to think this was before Inklings were in Mario Kart. Now, to Nintendo's credit, I don't blame them for not wanting to mention Balloon Battle because knowing what Mario Kart was doing with Battle Mode in this time period, yeah, I don't blame Nintendo for wanting to distance themselves from the name Balloon Battle. So, how does one play this mode? Now, I could read off the rules, but that would be very, very boring. However, I will make note of this hint right here. But having a lot of ink to swim and hide in is a definite advantage. Yo! Before we get into the game proper, I do want to make note of this. Player 2 will always be the option you did not select at the beginning of the game when creating your Inkling. Yep, back then we only had 2 options. It's crazy to think how many options we have in later Splatoon games. Especially in Splatoon 3. Man, we've come a long way. Alright, once you select your stage, you are just plopped in. And there's the first thing about this mode. See, unlike other modes in Splatoon 1, you do not have a spawner. See, in Splatoon 1 and 2, there would be a spawner where you and your opponents would spawn. And in Splatoon 3, this was changed to the launching spawners. Now, what happens when you die is you respawn under various points on the map. Well, I'm sure you probably figured out the problem with this is you don't get any iframes once you're back to being a kid form. So, after you wake up, you can literally die as you respawn. Because unlike the shield in the normal spawner in 1 and 2, or the armor in Splatoon 3, you don't get any of that, so you can literally die and then die again. Alright, so, how to play. As Bill mentioned in the video I showed, one player is on the gamepad and one player is on the TV. While we're here, I want to also mention you only have a selection of 8 weapons. Splatter Shot with Burst Bomb, Splat Roller with Suction, Splat Charger with Splat Bomb, Blaster with Disruptor, Jet Squelcher with Wall, Arrow Spray with Seeker, Squiffer with Point Sensor, and finally Rapid with Mine. These are all the weapons you get, and as I mentioned earlier, you don't get a special, and I'll get into why that is soon enough. The objective of Balloon Battle is to pop as many balloons as you can. There will be a countdown to where balloons will spawn, and then there will be a group of 7. Pop all 7 or wait a total of 30 seconds and a new batch will spawn. Whoever pops the most balloons or reaches 30 points first wins. However, there are a few things about this. For starters, during the final minute of the match, all points will be doubled, basically acting as a comeback mechanic, so if any of you are falling behind in points, you're able to clutch up. Next is, while you can gain points, you can also lose points by being splatted. However, the amount you lose is dependent on how many points you have. If you have 2 or 3, you'll only lose 1 point. If you have 4 or 5, 2, and so on until you reach 10 plus, in which case you will always lose 5. However, you will not lose any points if you fall off the map, as well as if you are only at 1 point. Next, you do not gain any special points for painting the floor. Think of it like how it is in Salmon Run. See, you can paint to your heart's content and you will not get a single special. However, that's where these boxes come. In these boxes are can specials from the single player, but they aren't just a can special, no, these are can items. Think of them like the item box in Mario Kart. As another comparison to Mario Kart. Anyway, there are 3 types of items you can get from this. I'll separate them into 3 categories: subs, specials, and miscellaneous. Miscellaneous is interesting because they're not really items, they're more just effects. For the subs, you get 3 different sub weapons. The first one is Sprinkler. Now, Sprinkler in this mode is kind of a mixed bag. As I mentioned, painting doesn't do anything, so having the sub that paints for you in this doesn't really, outside of potentially cheesing splats off respawn. Now, it is Splatoon 1 Sprinkler, which means as it did 30 damage per sprinkle as opposed to 20 as it does in Splatoon 2 onwards. But there is an interesting quirk about this sprinkler. I mean it's Splatoon 1 Sprinkler. This is the good sprinkler, and has less deterioration the longer it goes on for. However, this sprinkler has something that even the other PvP sprinklers do not. See, when you are splatted as a sprinkler user, your sprinkler will go with you. And this is to prevent sprinkler from being in cheesable areas where the opponents cannot get to it. However, not Balloon Battle's sprinklers. No, you can be splatted as many times and it will keep going until it is destroyed. And if you remember, and Splatoon 1 damage, object damage sucked. Yeah, it's gonna be there a while. Yeah, this sprinkler is the sprinkler that can. It would be if it was better though. The next sub is Point Sensor. And I'm gonna be honest, this one perplexes me. First of all, it's called Point Sensor, but it acts just like Echolocator and locates the person anywhere on the map. So I don't know why it's called Point Sensor, not Echolocator, but you do you, game. You do you. Anyway, this sub kind of sucks in this mode. Oh, don't get me wrong, it's very useful if you're playing on the TV, because for one teensy but ever so crucial detail, you can screen look! Yep, you can screen look. Now, screen looking is nothing new to multiplayer games, especially ones in the shooter genre, but it's a totally foreign concept to Splatoon, because only real time you could really do this is if you're playing a LAN or something, but here? No, because realistically, the Wii U gamepad is playing in the same room as the TV player, because the gamepad cannot go that far away without disconnecting, as shown here. So realistically, all the gamepad player needs to do is, if you're trying to shark, all the gamepad player needs to do is just look at the screen and bam, you're dead. Now, I know that this isn't a big issue, but it is something to be aware of, because it's probably the only time screen looking is going to be a factor in Splatoon. The last sub-weapon is Disruptor. Now, if you know Splatoon 1 Disruptor, you know how dumb this is as an item. First of all, Disruptor was already stupid because it did all of this when you got hit by it, but it was just a projectile, so you could just avoid it. Not the item though. Much like the Point Sensor, it will hit you no matter where you are on the map. So you just get hit with a debuff no matter where you are, and you just have to suffer. So have fun trying to stay alive when you have this on. You're basically a dead squid walking. There's a reason this became Toxic Mist in Splatoon 2 onwards. Now on to the specials, starting with Bubbler. Now, Bubbler is notoriously one of the strongest specials in this game, because invincibility specials, yay! In this mode, however, it's pretty good. I mean, it's Bubbler, you can't go wrong with it, but it's not as powerful as it is in other modes. Because in the other modes, this is a playmaking special because you can work with your teammates on it. However, because it's just you, it's very situational. Sure, you cannot die with this special, meaning you can farm points without having to lose them, and you could potentially farm off your opponent trying to kill you because you are invincible. But it's, again, situational. It's still pretty good to have. Next is Zuka. Oh, I'm gonna save Zuka for later because I have much to say about that in this mode. And finally, we have Ink Strike. Now, because of how the controls work in this mode, it acts uniquely as opposed to how it does in PvP, because you don't tap on the screen because that'd be impossible for the TV player. So it does this. It will lock onto wherever the opponent was locked onto, or where their last location was if they were splatted after it was launched. However, they can also be locked on right as they spawn, and yeah, this can happen. Now, Ink Strike is pretty hit and miss in this mode. For starters, much like Sprinkler, it's not really useful because it's a painting, mostly, and it doesn't really do that. Ink Strike is best when it's used to displace people, and while it can do that, your opponent can also manipulate it too, because if it always locks onto them, well, they can just move, and it doesn't really do anything. The only real niche thing it has, outside of splatting people as they spawn, is cheesing out balloons if the opponent just so happened to be around the balloons when it was launched. Other than that, it's easily the weakest special in this game. The final section, Miscellaneous, has two features. The first of all being Super Jump. This will super jumps both you and your opponent to wherever they were on the map and swaps where they were. However, similar to the Ink Strike, if you super jump as someone gets splatted, you'll just go to where they were before they were splatted. Unless the super jump involves someone who just respawned, in which case it will just act like a normal super jump and just have them jump to wherever you are. Last one is interesting. It's called Full Power Up. Now, this is something that's wholly unique to this mode. What does it do? Well, a buff on run speed, swim speed, ink recovery, and, as you can see in the side-by-side, both main and sub-saver. Basically, it's if Last Ditch Effort and Opening Gambit got hit with polymerization. You will have these buffs until you either die or run out. Now, don't let the hair fool you, you do not actually have a special. Yeah, despite it giving you the hair aura of a special, it's just an indicator of let you know that you've been buffed up. Now, even though your hair still glows during specials when you use them, but that's not here nor there. And that's it. Alright. Okay, we gotta talk about Zuka in this mode. Now, Zuka has always been a quirky little special. I mean, killing people from like halfway across the screen, okay, we can understand that. But it's always been obfuscated by startup lag. Anyway, Splatoon 1 Zuka, you know, you're probably like, oh, 6-8 shots with 3 mains of special duration up. Oh, that's not bad. Balloon Battle Zuka says, hold my beer. Do you want to know how many shots you get? It's not 6. It's not 8. No, you get 14 shots with this. 14 shots. Yeah. Why? Zuka can shred through balloons, shred through your opponent, kill from halfway across the screen because it's Zuka, and you get 14 shots of this. Oh yeah, and remember when I mentioned that iframes are non-existent? Well, you can just Zuka someone right as they respawn. So you can literally just farm someone as they spawn. Wait a minute, Zuka being able to kill you while off spawn? Oh, time really is a flat circle. Alright, rant's over. Let's get back to the mode. Now, I'm sure you're wondering, what happens if both players have the same score going and time runs out? Well, much like ranked modes, it will go into overtime. And to beat overtime, whoever scores the first or splats the other opponent in the aforementioned point threshold will be the victor. And, by the way, if you're wondering, it's 1 point each. The only way to end it is if you pot the balloon. And however, there is one big difference from this overtime and ranked overtime. See, in ranked overtime, there's a time limit to how long overtime will last. Balloon battle overtime does not have a cutoff. Believe me, I tried to see how long it went, and it just went on for as long as possible. Like, seriously, look at this. There is no end in sight. I tested for 15 minutes straight and it did not end, so I'm going to say it goes on forever. So yeah, that's a thing. I know y'all are getting anxious and want to see the funny control scheme, and we'll get to that soon, but I do want to go over some cool little facts about this mode. For starters, in 2.0, Urchin Underpass was redesigned. Now, in that same update, a new light blue and orange were introduced to the turf war coloring. Why is this important? Well, remember when I said that this mode still uses the Day 1 Urchin? Well, they actually added that new color scheme to this mode, making it possible for this color combination to happen on Day 1 Urchin. Something that is not possible under any other circumstances in the game. Secondly, there's an inkable wall on Walleye. Now, this was most likely done to make the balloons easier to pop, but like, why is it only in this mode? It could have helped in ranked modes. Why is it only here? And easily the coolest detail is this. Now, whenever you try and access other modes in, say, private battles during a Splatfest, it would just change to day. Now, while stuff like the training room would be decorated for Splatfest, emotes would not. However, Battle Dojo would actually keep the night theme and would actually replace the music with Ink Me Up. What's interesting about this, however, is it's similar to rank modes. It does not trigger now or never, making this the only time Ink Me Up lasts the entire way through a match. And while this doesn't have to do with Splatoon 1, I think it's interesting that there are Splatfest songs in later Splatoon games, most notably Big Betrayal and Suffer No Fools, that actually do go beyond the 2-minute mark, but most of the songs go unheard in game because of the 2-minute cutoff. So being able to hear a song last longer than 2 minutes and the entire match, I just think that's fascinating for a Splatfest song. Next is both players have individually to pause. So let's say you're dominating the other opponent, you're about to win, and then they can just be like, oh well, nope, and suffer no consequences because unlike you will not be penalized for rage quitting. Next, as I mentioned, there is no respawn platforms in this mode, so if you go to where they are, you will see them have no respawn. This is the only time before Splatoon 3 that you will be able to see a map without its respawn, outside of Scorch Gorge's little Easter egg. And yes, this also includes the single player because they do show up there too. Last thing is, you may have noticed this also, but this mode actually runs at 30 FPS as opposed to Splatoon's usual 60 during PvP. Now, this isn't unique to Splatoon, let alone multiplayer games. Just to name another example, Pokemon Tournament did this whole gamepad TV setup, and it also ran at 30 FPS. Plus, it's not even a unique case in Splatoon's case, as the hub worlds all run at 30 FPS. Now, I'm not one of those people who are like the frame, but I did want to make note of that. Okay, I deserve that. Now, I'm not one of those people who are obsessed with frame rates, but I just wanted to make note of this because it is interesting. Okay, I deserve that.
It's time for the moment you've been waiting for.
Now, I'm sure you all are watching this like, that's interesting, but when do we get to the funny control scheme? That, my friends, is right now. For the demonstration, you will need a Pro Controller, a Wii Remote, and a shoelace. Yes, a shoelace. That is actually what Nintendo recommended when they were showing this crap off. It's literally on their Tumblr. However, if you're feeling
kinda freaky,
you can use tape to get the same result. Now, let's set this up.
you make a loop-de-loop and pull.
Now, to activate the motion controls on the controller, it depends on what controller you're using. For Pro Controller, it's hold down on the control pad and then press and hold B and ZR and ZL at the same time. Meanwhile, if you're using a classic controller, it's first press ZR and ZL and then press the 2 button on the Wii remote to activate it. Why they are different depending on the controller, my only guess as to why they're different is because unlike the Pro Controller, the classic controller is actually hooked up to the Wii remote directly, so I can understand that, but still, having to enter a cheat code feels such a bizarre just to have motion controls. One thing I do want to make note of is they do mention a Wii Remote Plus is necessary. Now, this was after they had already merged the Wii Motion Plus into the Wii Remotes directly, so it got me wondering, what would happen if they just use a remote? Now, I could trust that they wanted to imply that you need Wii Motion Plus, but knowing that the Splatoon Research Lab can just say the darndest things.
How is he?
He'll live.
I'm fired, aren't I?
Oh, you think?
What can I say, Rick?
Nothing you haven't said before.
I was wondering what would happen if I just used a normal Wii remote. And my guess is because the improved gyroscope in the controller with the Wii Motion Plus make it more accurate, and having it without that just kind of makes it, yeah. Before we get on to the conclusion, I just want to do some reflection here. By the time this video goes up, the Wii U's servers for not just Splatoon 1 but the entirety of its library, as well as the 3DS, will be shut down. And I just wanted to, give a little tribute to the Wii U. Now, the Wii U was not a great console. It was not Nintendo's golden age. Don't let anyone try to tell you it was a terrible time to be a Nintendo fan, as the game droughts were immense, but for a while, I have to thank this era of the Wii U. See, I had gotten the Wii U as I was entering high school, and the games were really there to help me. I won't bore you with the details because, one, they're really personal and I don't want to get into them. It wasn't great. Sure, I had a lot of close-knit close-knit close friends, and we get to hang. But after, however, a lot of them were above me, grade-wise. So by the time I was in my sophomore year, a lot of my friends had graduated. So I was left to mostly select few, and well, so I always felt like I was just there, or a package deal when it came to this, as I felt like I was just, you know, the oddball. I felt kind of lonely. But thanks to the Wii U, I was able to meet more friends than I was in high school, and I was able to just keep going. And the fact that I'm able to just reflect on this just shows that how much the Wii U means to me. Like I said, the Wii U was not a great console, but it's a special console to me. Through online games like Splatoon, Smash or Wii U, and heck, even Miiverse, I was able to find a place where I could truly fit in and be around people where I could really felt like I belong. It's crazy to think one of the main reasons I started this channel was just to post my replays from Smash Wii U, but now where I look at it, just to see how far it has come, it feels crazy that, like, how much time has gone by. Like, I remember the first day of playing the test fire and how hooked I was on Splatoon. Heck, here is as you're seeing right now, this is gameplay of me playing the Splatfest 360p. Heck, I even found a reaction I did to one of the Splatoon news during a direct.
A couple Wii U game updates coming.
Okay, here comes Splatoon. Here comes Splatoon. Here comes Splatoon. I can tell by the music.
Video to showcase it. Please take a look.
Ah, the museum level. That was, yeah, museum level. It looks pretty cool. Oh, that's going to be I can already tell that level's going to be a pain on ranked battles. I can just tell it by looking at it. Oh, wait, we just saw new gear. That mask thing was it in the game, to my knowledge. Alright. Hey, this is a new beatbox version of the theme. That is cool. Are we getting new music? I mean, I know for a fact this version of the theme isn't in the game. Is this the same map or a different map? Either way, whoa, that looks like a pain to get through. Because water everywhere. Gosh dang it, that's gonna be... Oh, it's... Oh. Whoa. Oh, that looks so cool. Oh my gosh. Oh, cool, it's a squid.
It sounds cringy now, but man, that was so special. It's crazy that, like, how hooked I became with Splatoon. I played Splatfest religiously. Like, I strive so hard to get to King in every fest I ever played. And now that I'm playing through Splatoon 3 and talking about the game, heck, the fact I'm even doing a video about this game just shows how special that this game series is to me. The fact that I'm able to just reflect on this just shows that how much the Wii U means to me. Like I said, the Wii U was not a great console, but it's a special console to me, and I will always treasure it for that. Thank you, Wii U, for everything. Bet you weren't expecting me to get so sentimental, and so our fun little look at this mode is coming to a close. I hope you all enjoyed. I really wanted to give this mode its due diligence, as it's been kind of a funny little footnote. And I feel like there's a lot of things from this mode that could really be implemented in, like, say, a challenge. Like, the random items could be a really fun little challenge. And I do have a little soft spot for it. Another reason is, if you look at the date this is uploaded, this is actually the 9th anniversary of Splatoon launch. And I really wanted to give this huge send-off to Splatoon 1, as not only are the servers down outside of Pretendo, but I really want to give this game its huge hurrah. And what way to celebrate it than its exclusive PvP mode. Now, before we end off, I also want to give huge shoutouts before we end off. First, I want to give a big shout out to my friend Woopa, who drew my little Octoling guy on the thumbnail. She's a great artist, and I recommend following her Instagram down below. Next, I want to give a shout out to Liam W and Mossy for helping me get private battle footage during Splatfest, and Mossy for helping me get that Zuka footage you saw earlier. They were a huge help, and I appreciate that. Also, I want to give a shout out to my friend CJ for helping me get that GoldenEye footage. And last but not least, my brother Alette for helping me make this video, because without him, getting footage for this one would have been a huge chore. So thanks to him, I was able to get all the footage I needed, and it came out great. Also, shoutouts to the people who I shared for feedback about this project off and on. I've been working on this video for a long time. Believe it or not, this video was originally going to be part of Strange Splatoon Stuff Part 2, but I decided to extend it into its own video as a celebratory thing, as well as the fact that I received a lot of feedback on my original Part 1, and I wanted to do more narration-based videos to see how I can improve them, as well as, and I thank you all for the feedback on that video, as it helped me improve for this video. Speaking of which, feel free to let me know any feedback regarding this video. This took a lot of time to make, and I'm sure there's some hiccups here and there. I'm still learning the narration-based video format, so there's still going to be some things that slip through the cracks. I also want to give a shout outs to the places I got the footage from. Those will be linked in the description below, as well as the Wikipedia page that inspired this video, as well as the Disrupt. This was actually the main inspiration for this video, as I actually did add some, and I did notice things that weren't on there, so I felt inspired to, document all this stuff. With all that said, I just want to leave with this. Thank you so much, Splatoon, for existing. You're one of my favorite franchises, and even though you're young compared to like other Nintendo franchises I love, you've been a huge blessing for me, and I truly appreciate that. Thank you for everything, Splatoon, and especially with Splatoon 1, you gave me a lot of memories, and I'll always remember you for that. Thank you, Splatoon 1. Thank you for everything. And with all that out of the way, this is Smash Mario Pro 2000. I'll see you all on the wild side. Thanks for watching.